We're Al and Deb, and you're listening to the Phat Travellers Podcast, where we aim to inspire you to travel, find balance, and live your best life possible.
Oh, we're just sharing the shit that we're doing.
This is our very first podcast, so it's not going to be perfect, as long as you know that. But we're wanting to share a little bit about ourselves and where we've come from, because we started a YouTube channel 3 weeks ago, and that only shows like one side of what we want you to see. But this is more about us and showing our personality and who we are as people.
Yeah, I would say that it's been a change in life where we've taken on something new, and everything we've taken on is all new to us. I never thought I'd be a YouTuber, but apparently I am now. And it's been a big learning curve, but it's been interesting along the way. And Deb said to me 2 days ago, we're going to do a podcast. I thought, oh my God, what are we getting into here?
Well,
so this is our first one.
We've basically set ourselves a challenge. We want to eventually become full-time travelers. So we've basically set ourselves a challenge to be content creators, and not fully knowing what that will entail, but knowing that at some certain point down the track, like within that 2-year goal period, we'd like to call ourselves digital nomads.
all these fancy names. What's it? Content
creator
and digital nomads. This is all new stuff to us, and it's quite entertaining. Even the technology, some of the technology issues we've come across and the new things we've had to learn. It's been a learning curve, but if you ever need to know about it, contact us, and I'm sure we can help you.
Yeah, it's been it has been a challenge for some things. And I mean, even before we got this podcast up and running today, I mean, you know, we were playing around with the volume and all different things for half an hour before we even started.
Even to the fact that I just realised a podcast is supposed to be 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and we never checked the starting time, did we? There's our first blooper. So, let's go back to our beginning and talk about where we started, who we are.
Okay, yeah. So, well, maybe from how our relationship started and how long we've been together. So, I met Alan when I was 19. I'm now 50. Sounds really hard to say.
I was 26 back then. Now I'm 56.
And
here's a funny story. I thought I was 57 this year. We celebrated our birthday thinking I was 57. But then my mother-in-law reminded me that I'm only 56, so I've sort of celebrated the same birthday twice in a row.
Yeah, and I even gave him a card with big bubble writing and the number 57, and I wrote all, you know, the reasons why I loved him all the way around it. And, you know, he thought, oh, yeah, that's nice. And then my mum looked at the card and she's like, he's only 56.
So I don't know how many years we've been getting my birthday wrong, but...
I think it all started back when we gave you a 40th birthday party for your 39th.
Oh, we did too?
Yeah. What was the reason for that?
Oh,
Can you
who
remember?
knows? That's a long time ago.
I think we were travelling or something, so we knew that we weren't going to be there for your birthday when you're 40, so we did it a year early and pretended.
What's a year amongst friends?
That's it.
So we met, I was 26, Deb was 19, and you go on with the story there.
Yeah, so we actually decided on the first night that we really had a date kind of thing. I mean, it was a date, but it wasn't really a date. It was at my mum's house because I was still living at home. And Al came over with his bottle of scotch, and we basically just drank and talked about like our life goals and morals more so with each drink. And it just clicked to me on that night that everything that I was thinking and all my like ideas about life and how it should be lived, Alan's matched perfectly. And I think pretty much it was from that very first night that we sort of knew that we had something.
Yeah, you just know, don't you? It's just like
Yeah,
it all
well,
fitted together.
you came over to my mum's and you never went home.
You're stuck with me now.
Pretty much, pretty much. Yeah, so then Alan stayed. Actually, 5 days later, we went on our first holiday together because it was just before Christmas, remember, that we...
Oh, up to Foster.
Yeah, we went to
from
Foster.
Sydney to Foster.
Yeah, and for some reason, I was going up by myself that year to visit my nan, and I asked Alan if he wanted to come with me, and he was like, oh, yeah, sure, I'm not doing anything.
It's funny, it was in an old green Escort of Deb's.
Mm.
And
76 Escort.
And as we were driving along, like it was covered in bog and pink undercoat all over the body where it's all been repaired several times. And as we were driving along, it was raining, and there was, in the passenger's footwell where you put your feet, there was 2 inches of water.
Yeah, it used to fill up with water if it rained. But it was better than your car.
Yeah, I don't think I had one.
You didn't.
No. That's why we're using the Escort.
Yeah, so that was back in the day. That was back in the early 90s, probably 1990 or 1991.
1990,
I think, yeah. So one of the two. And so we had our first holiday together, and we lasted through that without any problem.
Yep.
And I think you pretty much moved straight in. Like, after we got back, you moved all your things into my mum's house, and we stayed there for about a year, I think.
Well, I had to get out of my ex-girlfriend's place.
That's right. So then we did things a little bit around, like, a different way than most people would do them. We decided that we were going to get married, and Alan at that time was working at the council in Blacktown, Western Sydney, and I used to go down and pick him up because, he didn't have a car.
You're not going to let me forget this, are you?
And so he proposed to me, like the romantic guy that he is, outside of
the council depot.
The council depot.
Yeah, in my steel cap boots and my car keys, yeah.
And, I mean, how can you resist a guy like that, really? So, yeah, so we decided, yes, we're getting married. We had our first child, Jessie, in 93.
93, yep.
Yep. And then
we bought our first house.
Yeah, we actually, while we were living at my mum's, we had a year to basically save our deposit, and we did that. We saved the deposit that we needed. We didn't go out. We didn't do anything. We, stopped partying. We basically just did anything that just didn't cost money just so we could get this deposit together. And we ended up buying our first house in Glenmore Park in Western Sydney.
Yeah, brand new home.
Yeah,
home and land package.
House and land package.
126,500.
Yeah, that's it.
It was the dearest house on the street. Yeah.
And then we moved in, and by that stage we'd already had Jessie, and then we decided, okay, well, we better get married, but before we get married, since we're paying for this ourselves, we want to go and have our honeymoon first. Make sure we had enough money for a holiday.
Yeah.
So we had the child, then we had
the house,
and
the
honeymoon, then the wedding, and then our second son, Dakota.
Yeah. Yeah. And then life took over. We had mortgages, we had things to pay off.
Yeah.
And I used to do a lot of art back then, and Deb said to me, why don't you go to university? You should go to university. To me it was really weird because I'd never known anyone really that went to university in my circles. Back in those days, not a lot of people went to university like they do now.
Even when I finished school, there was probably only half or less that would go to university after
Yeah.
school.
So I thought it was real weird at first, but then I thought, well, I can do it. I'm quite good at art, I thought. And so I did go to university and I did fine arts. I started university, then a year later Deb started university doing fine arts as well, and we both did teaching at the end of it.
Yeah.
And
It was during that time that we had a whole heap of different jobs too, like just to get through university, because we both decided we wanted to, better ourselves with education and try and make something more than, what we were doing, which was like odd bits and pieces here and there. And I'd been working in an RSL club for, I don't know, years. And when I look back now, actually, it was the best job ever. Like,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed working at the RSL, though I don't know why I left. But at the time, it was like, oh no, we need to go and do something better than what we're doing. So we both went to university. And then at the end of that 3 years, well, we decided, okay, well, what can we do with this art degree? And it was
not a great lot.
not a great deal more than we could have done without it. So we threw teaching on to the end of that degree, and then ended up spending 20 years or 18 years being teachers. But during that time we were at university, we were doing so many odd jobs to get through.
I worked out I had 9 jobs while I was at university.
Yeah, like we were doing things like ironing for, like, baskets of ironing for people, delivering pamphlets.
I worked at a couple of bars. I worked at a footy stadium, serving beers.
Yeah.
I worked at a prison as a prison guard.
Yeah. So it was lots of different things that got us to the point where we were able to, change our lifestyle by teaching, and that led us into different places to teach as well.
I think the best thing about teaching, other than there's great satisfaction in passing on knowledge, but I think as a family it gave us the opportunity to move on. So we moved away from Western Sydney and we went to Foster, mid-North Coast,
yeah,
New South
and that's
Wales.
where our kids were brought up, in Foster, and it was
Surf town.
perfect. It was beautiful. It still is a beautiful place to live. But, we got out of the hectic traffic and stuff that was, we're always in the car in traffic when we're in Sydney, so that's what we wanted to get away from. But other than that, I mean, there was everything there that you'd need if you were living in, Western Sydney. There was plenty of shops and stuff like that, but we wanted to get out and just give the kids a beach sort of laid-back lifestyle, which I think they did have.
And this is where it came into being that I realised that my childhood of growing up as an Air Force brat, developed within me a desire to continually move, because, like, I went to 13 schools as a kid. We're always moving every 2 or 3 years, and that happened. It kept going on in my adult life, where I just kept getting an itchy feet, where I want to move, I want to change things. So we lasted at Foster probably longer than we've lasted anywhere else.
I think we, with our first house in Glenmore Park, I think we stayed there just
8 years, I think it was.
Yeah, 8 years or something like that. And then Foster, 10 years. And then we moved over to the
by that
USA.
stage, the kids were
19. Jesse was 19
and 15.
Yeah,
something like that. 18 or 15.
And so then we thought, okay, well,
let's move.
Yeah, let's do something. So we went to the USA.
Yeah, so Deb went to the... She got the job first over there. We both applied for jobs teaching. Deb got a job in North Carolina, Benton Heights Elementary School of the Arts. I never got a job initially, so I was waiting for one to come up. And lucky enough, we I got one at the same school as Deb, so we both ended up in Charlotte
Yeah.
in North Carolina.
Yeah. And we stayed there for a year.
We had Dakota with us.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Dakota was ready to go home. And at that stage, we were also ready to come back to Australia. And then we went back to foster for a little while. And Dakota decided that he was going to get an apprenticeship, so he moved to Queensland. And it wasn't long after that that Alan and I thought, you know what, we've been at foster now 10 years, and Alan, with his itchy feet, was ready to go somewhere else. And so we made the move to the Gold Coast. So we stayed on the Gold Coast for about 6 months, and then to get a full-time teaching position, you needed to go and do rural service. So we ended up in Baralaba, which is near Rockhampton, 2 hours inland.
Which we also refer to as blah blah.
Blah, blah.
Blah blah, because not much happens at Baralaba.
No, but it was a nice place to live with 400 people. And Jesse now lives there with Brody and his 3 children. So we've still got a connection to Baralaba, and, you know, we're going back up there at Christmas. So you'll get some YouTube video about that, I'm sure. But yeah, so we went and did rural service, and then we came back down to the Gold Coast again, and that's where we are today. We're here.
Yeah.
But we've always had that sort of thing where we've started businesses, and we've been like, we have the entrepreneur sort of mindset where we've got lots of ideas, and
I just wish they'd made us money.
yeah, that's the thing. So we've had like a DVD shop in the past. At the moment, we've got an art studio. Well, Alan's wearing his shirt because he's going to work in a few hours. Reed Art Academy, which is in Oxenford on the Gold Coast. But we've had those sort of things happen throughout our life where we've thought, okay, well, at one stage we're going to be opal cutters, and, you know.
We've made a bit of money here and there doing different things, but
yeah,
you know, it's you just got to keep moving on.
And
sometimes they don't work as good as you think they're going to work.
Yeah, but I think like the last probably year or two since we left teaching, and we left, you know, for various reasons. We'll probably go into that on another podcast. But since leaving teaching, we have looked more onto the digital side of things, and that's how we got inspired to do the YouTube videos and this podcast, and seeing that there was actually a way that you could balance your life and have everything that you wanted by, you know, having, I don't know, just finding that balance, which we were severely lacking a few years ago. So by doing this, it's allowing us to work. It's keeping our mind active by learning all these new skills that we need. And it's also going to, fingers crossed, pay off in the future, so we can, you know, pick up our lifestyle and take our computers and cameras and microphones and do our work from wherever we want to work. We're not just going to be locked in somewhere.
Yeah, so this next step in our life, like we finished the teaching part, and now we're moving on, and we're thinking of just travelling a bit and sharing our experiences with everyone else. You know, the first place we're probably thinking of going would be Bali.
Yeah, Bali's one of our all-time favourites.
Been there a lot of times. We love the place, love the people. It's the people in Bali. The culture's great, but the people are excellent.
Yeah, the people are actually probably the most beautiful people that I've ever met. Like around the world. Yeah. And we've been to quite a few places, but they're just beautiful people. Like, just beautiful.
Yeah.
There's no other way to sort of describe them. Yeah, so we've been to Bali probably about 20 times already, and the longest we've stayed before is just 1 month. But hopefully
we talked about staying there for a few years, but we're now down to maybe we just might go there for
3 months to
three
six
months
months.
and move on and try something else.
Yeah, we
It's
don't
still up in
know.
the air. We don't know. We're going through that learning process. We might end up in, say, Thailand. We might end up in Malaysia. We don't know yet. It's just an adventure at this stage.
And the good thing is, like, we're both very open to what happens. Like, you're not set in stone that we need to do this, and I'm not like, oh no, I really want to stay here and I want to stay here for so many years. It's just like we bounce things back and forward off each other all the time,
Yeah.
and our ideas of what we want for our life are continually evolving. So it reminds me of how we used to be before we had a lot of pressure and things in our lives, where we were more like go with the flow, and it feels like we're being a bit more authentic to who we are
Yeah, yeah.
from what we're doing.
We've escaped from the man a bit.
Yeah,
We spent a lot of years working for the man, and it sort of, to be honest, I burnt out from that, and so we've decided that we've got to change our lifestyle and enjoy the rest of our life and find that balance where
yeah,
we can enjoy the rest of our life but still make an acceptable income.
yeah. I don't want to be rich. Well, actually, take that back.
Yeah, you want to be rich. I
Yeah.
want to be happy.
It would be good to have, enough money and make enough money to be rich, but I'm not going to say I wouldn't want to have that, because if you say that and you put it out into, the universe, well, you might just stay poor if you don't say that. So I'm putting it out to the universe,
Yeah.
because, you got to manifest these things.
Well, I've sort of come to the conclusion that yes, money does make you happy.
It makes me happier than not having money, that's for
I've
sure.
worked out that yes, it makes me happy. The more money I have, the more money I spend.
Yeah.
But the thing for me is the more money I have, the less freedom in life I have, and the more what would I say? The more stress you have upon yourself.
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
No, because I think the more money you have, the less stress you have, and that's just, to me, that's been proven. So, no, totally don't agree.
So we're on an adventure now where we're not going to have any money. It's going to be a lot of stress for Debbie, apparently. Yeah. But as you can see, we're going to laugh about it. That's what it's all about. In fact, in the last 3 months, we've been more in tune with each other than we have in years.
Yeah.
And
What do you put that down to?
I do as you say.
Well, that'll always work. Keep it
I put
up.
that down to we're back on the same page of it's about us and it's not about our careers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's come down to we actually look at each other in the eyes now instead of bypass each other walking to and from work or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think, I don't want to talk too much about teaching, but I think when you are teaching and you're teaching for so long, like we did, it's easy to have that be an all-consuming thing in your life where, you wake up 6 o'clock, you go to work, you do work about work, before work, then you do your work, then you do your meetings, then you come home and then you do more work and marking. And then it gets to the weekend and you're still doing work for work, where you basically, if you don't balance it right, you do burn out. And unfortunately, that's what happened. And to get out of that sort of chaos, which is all that I can sort of call it now, it gave us a lot more balance. Well, when we left teaching, a lot more balance, didn't it? And I think that's why we have, come back together again. Not that we were apart before, but there is that feeling of, okay, we're on the same page again.
Yeah, yeah. Um, let's get back to talking about travel because that's more exciting. Yeah.
So what do you
So
want to
we've
talk
now
about?
got all this kit that we're starting to build up. It's becoming a bit of a worry because I'm thinking the more stuff that I've got to use now in technology, the more I've got to carry with me. So it's a balance of working out what exactly I do need and what I don't need.
And I think that's the thing too. We've only got the basics of the things that we need, but I guess as time goes on, we will be getting rid of some of those things, and
Yeah.
hopefully we can get everything just down into one backpack.
No, two backpacks.
Why?
Because you seem to think I'm carrying everything in one backpack.
Yeah, you are. What do you mean? I seem to think.
See, and this is where the problem is.
Well, I've got, for my travelling, I've got my suitcase and I've got my hand luggage, the little bag, so I don't really have room.
Have you got a poodle in a little carry bag or?
No.
Yeah.
No. So for this year, we've got a few things going on, but we'll share that as we get closer to those things, I think.
Yeah,
So,
we'll add more in.
Yeah, so the first thing that we're going to be doing, and we'll just talk about the first thing because that's in the next few weeks, we're going to head back down to Foster and see Dakota and Kaylin, his girlfriend, and we're going to spend a week down in Foster. So on YouTube you can expect to see some dolphins and what Foster's all about. It's a, nice town on the coast that has about 20...
It's got
20,000
about
people
25, 26,000, and it's got about up to 120,000 in the holidays.
Yeah, we're not going in holidays. The holidays is at the moment now. At the moment now, we're at home in our sitting room, and that's where we're filming this from. So we wait till all the crowds have gone, and then we'll be off.
On our YouTube channel, we've started a YouTube channel. We've got...
It's called Al and Deb.
a pretty exciting name, I know. Al and Deb.
I like it.
I tried to change it.
Yeah, it's not happening yet.
Phat Travellers.
The Phat Travellers.
Phat, Phat Travellers.
Yeah, that's the podcast. So
now,
it's fitting.
so it's what we've done with that is we're learning the trade of YouTubing and so forth. So to do it, because we're not travelling yet, we're focusing on places around Gold Coast that you can go see, and predominantly on a budget. So if you're travelling up the Gold Coast, you get an idea of what things are like up here.
Yeah, so far our little budget series we've done has 3 different films in it so far. The first one is about the art museum, HOTA, Home of the Arts, Gold Coast. And the second one was about...
Where was it? We went to Harbour Town Shopping Centre to check out all the...
That wasn't the budget series, but
Wasn't
we do
it?
have that
It
one.
is a budget thing. Cost
It
you
is
nothing to go
true.
there.
And the second one was the Botanic Gardens, Gold Coast Botanic Gardens at Benoa. Yeah, so I think we've got about 9 YouTube videos that we've done in the last 3 weeks. So at the moment we're just, going pretty well. Three a week we're pumping out of long form, and we've just started doing 3 shorts a day as well. So
yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Deb and symbol Al. No, Al and Deb, isn't it? Al and Deb on YouTube. And subscribe.
Yeah, and if this podcast works out, we'll start up also another channel on YouTube and link the Phat Travellers.
We were practicing earlier, and she did an introduction for this podcast, and she said, "Hi, we're Al and Deb from the Phat Controllers."
Thomas the Tank, I don't know why, but anyways, it just seems more natural to say Phat Controller than it does to say Phat Travellers. But Yeah, I think we've
Covered everything so far?
covered everything. If you've got any questions or anything for us, we'd love to answer those. So make sure if you're on our YouTube podcast channel, just pop your questions down in the comments section. I'm not sure how you do it on pod
Oh, I don't know. We'll work that out. We'll let you know.
podcast, but
This is our first one. We don't know how it
we don't
works
even
yet.
know how to do it yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So hopefully this has worked out and hopefully there's volume and hopefully we haven't spent the whole time
Talking to ourselves.
talking to ourselves. But it has been nice, Al.
Anyway, so I'm Al. This is Deb. We are from the Phat Travellers. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We enjoyed it.